Oh.
Well, uh-oh.
Sorry, we gotta start filming, Andy.
I'm so sorry. Who doesn't love a good bite of fried chicken? Give me just a second and we'll be ready to go. Hi, I'm Andy Jones, your host for Art Talk, and today it's all things chicken. All right, so let's get to, I was gonna say the important meat of the matter, but we've already had our chicken. So now we're going to paint a kind of a chicken portrait today. So let's get some paint out on our palette to get started with. So I'm going to start with some titanium white. And I have to say, I'm here with Dylan Estes, so as a pleasure always working with you, Dylan. Mm-hmm. And we are painting chicken. We've been eating chicken today. I have to say that was some good chicken. It's
been a big day. We did a little sampler of the whole KFC menu to get ourselves inspired.
And it has been a long time since either one of us have had KFC, so cheers to Colonel Sanders for his 11 secret herbs and spices. All right, so I'm putting out titanium white, medium yellow, yellow ochre. I'll go ahead and put out some hot saffron. This chicken is going to be very colorful, so we are putting out a broad spectrum of colors on our palette. And I'm going to put out a little bit of apple red and true burgundy, so we can really get started and hopefully make some good headway with this. Now, before we really dive into this, I want to let you know that this is just kind of an impression of a rooster portrait. We are not painting a specific rooster or any specific chicken, and no chickens were harmed in the filming of this video.
No, beg to differ with the lunch before, but...
Well, that poor chicken had it coming. All right, so we're going to start painting our chicken's eye.
Before you get there,
okay,
we have some things on the canvas.
Oh, we do have things on the canvas. I did not want to start with a white canvas. I guess I've looked at this now for a day or so, and it's perfectly normal to see a pink
It's the beginning for you.
Yes, it's the beginning for me. So I made a pink color from titanium white, apple red, and just a touch of hot saffron. It's kind of a pinky salmon color, and I painted the whole canvas and let it dry. Then I came back and I sketched a little rooster head on here, and we will provide you with the free downloadable design. You can find that link in the description below, so you don't have to worry about drawing your own rooster if you don't want to. But that's where we are here. So now we're going to start with our chicken's eye, and I'm painting it in with some medium yellow. And the reason, probably give a little bit more description about why I painted the canvas with a pink color is I don't want any kind of random pinholes of white showing through. So now that I've got this pink color, anywhere that I miss with some other colors, there'll just be a little pink color showing through, and it's less distracting than having a white spot. All right, I'm going to pick up a little bit of titanium white on my brush with my yellow, and we are going to just come back in here and give a little bit more. There we go. Look at how much brighter that little eye looks now. And I'm not trying to paint a circle. I'm just painting in some little random lines here. So we've got our little chicken eye going pretty good there. So in a minute, when we're done with the eye, we'll have a little friend painting with us the whole way through. So I am going to pick up, I didn't put any black out, so can't do an eye without some black. So I'm going to put a little pure black out. And all of these colors that I'm using are available in our Art Talk kit. And the link to purchase that kit is also in the description below. So let's just paint in the pupil of the chicken's eye. And we want to try to get that fairly round. But if it's not 100% round, don't worry about that. We're having fun with this.
I have to say this project was your idea, Andy. This was kind of from some Atlanta history, because
yes,
Plaid is based here right outside of Atlanta.
Yes, and there is in the city of Roswell, which is just a northern suburb of Atlanta, there is an old Kentucky Fried Chicken that is known locally far and wide around here as the Big Chicken. It has a gigantic metal chicken head attached to the building. And people give directions of, if you go past the big chicken, you've gone too far, or make sure to turn left at the big chicken. The big chicken is very important to Atlanta culture, and they tried to get rid of the big chicken, and that did not go over well. So the big chicken remains. They had to add some structural integrity to the chicken, but our gigantic chicken remains here.
And you know, the eyes move and the beak opens and closes, so
it's a thing.
It's kind of a cool mechanical wonder.
Well, it's certainly something to wonder about. All right, so I've wiped the paint out of my brush, and I'm going to pick up some titanium white on the side of the brush, and I'm going to put in a nice big highlight that's going to kind of straddle the black and the yellow part of the eye. There we go, and we'll come back and hit that again to make it a little bit brighter, but we're starting to set up the whole chicken, and let's make a little gray here with some pure black and white. And we'll just put a little bit of this gray here in front of the eye. And again, if we don't completely cover up all of that pink, don't worry about it. We'll just go around the eye a little bit. Just like that.
You know, we also picked this subject matter because, Andy, you said that this was a popular thing for you. You've painted thousands of chickens.
I've painted thousands of chickens. I've collected chickens. I never grew chickens, but growing up, my grandmother who could fry chicken like nobody's business. Every Sunday dinner was fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, usually homemade yeast rolls, that sort of stuff. So growing up, we had a lot of fried chicken, and it always had to be good. So I'm a harsh judge of fried chicken. All right, but enough of that. Let's get a little bit bigger brush here. Let's start in with our number 12 flat brush and some yellow ochre. And let's give our little chicken here some beak. And every time you paint a chicken, it's going to come out looking a little bit different. They take on their own personalities, and they're incredibly pretty birds, just from a kind of an Audubon perspective there.
They're also a staple of the folk art painting community.
Oh yeah, everybody loves a chicken. There's no doubt about that. So we're going to give a little bit of dimension to this beak. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of True Burgundy on my brush, do a little brush mix of that real quick, and we will come in here and add kind of the division line in this little chicken's beak. And soften that in a little bit. Not going to mess with it too much. A little bit of shading up there. Soften that in, and we'll wipe our brush, pick up some medium yellow and white, and we'll come back and give a little highlight on his beak. There we go. All right, now, what everybody loves about a chicken is or a rooster is the big comb and the wattle. So let's take our 12 flat brush and some apple red, and let's paint this in. And notice that I'm using big, bold strokes here. That way we can really cover some ground and make our chicken not so prissy. We want it to be kind of fun and folky. And we're just filling in the comb really quickly with our apple red. And his comb is so big, it's running off the canvas. And you can see that this red is covering really, really well over our pink background. That's another little trick to making your paintings more successful, is not fighting against the materials you're working with. Reds and yellows are always a little bit notorious for needing more than one coat, but putting it over pink, we get around that, so we've got a great little comb going there. Let's wipe our brush out and pick up some True Burgundy. And let's put a little shading on. And then a quick little pat and blend here, not overdoing it. I'm loving the way that's turning out there. So we've got now the wattle, which is the little dangly bit of flesh that hangs down from his beak and his face. So we will once again start with our apple red, and we'll work this right in around his beak, filling it in, thinking the shape of what you're doing and filling that in with bold strokes. And so we're going to fill in the other side of this. Just going to do a little shading to begin with, but I think we'll fill in with our red. And this is, again, covering really well on here, and I'm using nice, bold strokes, creating big shapes with this. So that's kind of our lesson for the day, is big strokes, bold shapes, or bold strokes, big shapes, whichever way you want to think about it. We're not doing this in a very timid way. We want to make the most of every stroke that we put on our canvas.
Which you're proving to be true here, because this looks like a chicken.
Well,
it's already come to life. The eye really helps.
Well, that's, you know, if anytime I'm painting some sort of animal or anything like that, always best to go ahead and paint the eye in. And like I said, you'll have a friend the entire time you're painting. So I don't know what part of the chicken all of this red stuff is around their eyes. It's not always the prettiest part of a chicken, but we're going to make it interesting to look at today. So we'll go ahead and fill in some of that. A very good friend who is an internationally known wildlife artist, and she really specializes in the painting of birds, and so she would be able to tell me exactly what every little part is here. And I remember was teaching a class somewhere, and we were painting some sort of duck, and I said, oh, if she was here, she could tell us if these ducks mate for life. And I saw her like the next day, and she goes, no, those ducks mate for about 10 seconds. So it's kind of fun to paint little animals, and having their eyes there with you is a lot of fun because you've got a little friend with you. Time for some shading. Let's pick up some of our True Burgundy, and let's come in here and add some dark color where our wattles separate. And I'm loving that this red is a little bit sticky now, so that my True Burgundy really goes on nicely. And again, I'm going to mess with that almost none, but that's calling that done. So let's get some nice dark areas going in here. And we can soften that a little bit. We don't want to mess with it too much. Okay, let's darken some of this. And when you look at the thumbnail for this, you can see, you know, exactly what we're doing here. And we're going to come back and add some fun little color dabs here and there to make our chicken a little bit more interesting. Right now we are getting the main parts of our chicken in. We want to set up where our lights and darks are. I'm going to come in here and add just a little bit more of this True Burgundy to make sure that we've got some really, really nice dark colors going on. And I am leaving some of these things exactly how we put them on there because it's going to make our painting appear very fresh and spontaneous. All right, let's get going because we need to put some background in. We've got a lot of chicken going on here. So for the background, let's make a gray violet color. So I'm going to mix a little bit of pure black into some white. And I'm going to add a little dioxazine purple to the palette, because you can't really have a chicken without some purple. And your dioxazine purple is it's grape jelly in an acrylic paint. It's a great color. So adding this purple to this will make our gray have a bit more interest. And I did not mix up enough of that. I know it. And you know it, so let's go ahead and make more of it before we even get started. And we'll probably need some more, but we'll start with that right now. Add a little bit more purple to that. If we're going to have it purple, let's make sure we can see it. Okay, this will probably be one of the slowest parts of our painting, because we've got to pay attention to what we're doing. We're going to cut in around what we've painted, so we have to pay attention. So I'm going to start down here and just get a nice big color going on there, and that's a nice color. It sits well over our pink, but we can come right around our wattle. And I'm intentionally leaving a little bit of that pink showing because I think it's going to add some visual interest to our painting.
It's a bit of a highlight.
And we're just painting right around that beak. Make sure you have enough paint on your brush so that you're not having to fight the canvas. And sometimes for me, this is the hardest thing to do, is to lay color on and then just leave it alone. There's a huge tendency to always want to, as we say here in the South, mess with it. You want to mess with it or fix it. And sometimes you just don't need to do either one of those things. You just need to put it on and leave it alone. All right, now we're going to just fill in this side of the canvas with our violet gray color. And Stephen, if you want to speed this up, you can. We have most of this side painted in this gray, and that's a lot of solid gray. So I'm going to take this color and we're going to add a little titanium white to it. Just brush mix it here on the palette, and we can come back and add some lighter gray down here in the corner, which is kind of fun that we are, kind of altering our color on the fly. And we're just adding some of this lighter color as we move up. And some of this background color is still a little damp, and that's perfectly fine. We want some variety in our painting so that it is interesting to look at it. That had just been all solid gray, no one would have cared, and it would not be fun to look at.
So the Atlanta KFC chicken is one of our chickens featured from the pop culture memorandum. What other pop culture chickens come to mind, Andy?
Well, of course, Chicken Little, because the sky is actually falling down. So Chicken Little was very, very important chicken in history. And then we can't really shy away from the fable. So we have Little Red Hen, and people who suffer from Little Red Hen syndrome are the people that have to do everything themselves. They cannot accept help from anyone else. So Chicken Little, Little Red Hen, Foghorn Leghorn, one of the biggest and best chickens in pop culture. So there are a lot of fun chickens out there. So do you have a favorite chicken?
Nothing truly comes to mind, but I have a chicken fact that I think I shared with you earlier about the KFC Yule log.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the publicity stunt, that was the Yule log scented with the 11 herbs and spices that didn't exactly go over well.
No one ever wanted that. No one asked for that.
No one asked to fill their home with 11 herbs and spices.
Now, I just am adding a little bit more light gray up here, kind of at a jaunty angle, as it were. All right, so we're gonna leave this alone for right now, and I am going to go back to my palette here, and I'm gonna scrape up all of that purpley gray color. Just get rid of any remnants of that, and I'm gonna make a fresh pile of that. So titanium white, and it is best practice to wipe your palette knife off before you go back into your paint. So titanium white, some pure black, and it doesn't matter if this color is going to be exactly the same. We just want something close because we're going to continue with our background painting. So then we add some dioxazine purple to this. Here we go, that's a nice color. A nice gray violet tone. And again, wiping off that palette knife so you keep your workspace organized nicely so you don't get paint all over you, and you can have a nice neat painting when you're finished. So we're going to start, we'll start back here, and then coming along the back side of our rooster here. And of course, many of you know, and some of you may not know, that Dylan and I are both huge Dolly Parton fans. So we can quote her from 9 to 5 when she's talking to her boss about changing him from a rooster to a hen with one shot. So again, kind of a chicken reference in pop culture. And we just love some Dolly. So that's always nice that Dolly can be with us today. All right, I'm going to cut in right around the comb. And don't worry too much about the top of the canvas. I'll come back and clean that up when we're all finished. Okay, so that's enough of that. But I want, like we added some light color down here, we could come back and add some of this so we don't have isolated color. And I'm going to take some of this, and on the right side of my canvas, I'm going to add a little bit more black, not that much, that was too much there. So a little black and a little dioxazine purple to make a darker color, and probably something more closer to what we started with. And we'll put a little bit of that on here to make this side have some visual interest in it. I am always about making sure that my painting is interesting to look at. You don't ever want to look at a painting and know exactly how everything was done, or basically, look at it and go, yeah, it's done. You want to look at it and say, oh, that's kind of neat, or look at that little area there, or just have something in the painting to notice. All right, I'm going to take another little 8 flat brush and titanium white, because I mentioned that we were going to come back to the highlight in our eye. And now that this is a little bit set up and a little bit sticky, we can get a much brighter highlight in that eye. And now our chicken is much more friendly. Here is a little tidbit for you. Anytime you're painting an animal, do not let the highlight in the eye be just like a pin dot. Make it a little bit bigger than you think it should be, and that will make your animal more friendly. If you have just a tiny little pin spot of a highlight, your animal's going to look angry and mean. So that's just a pro tip for you there. Something to tuck away for future reference. The next thing we're going to do is start to lay in some color just in our, the rooster's going to be white, so we need to get some color underneath our chicken. So I'm going to put in a little bit of lime green on my palette. So, of course, I'm painting a chicken with lime green. So we're going to take some medium yellow, a little bit of lime green, and a little bit of titanium white. And I'm going to put some of this chartreuse color on the chicken. We'll cover up a lot of this, but some of this needs to be there for a little bit of fun, fun action there on the chicken. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a 1-inch flat brush and some of my gray violet color, just dirty my brush a little bit with that, and then take more of this yellowy green color that we just made. So lime green, medium yellow, and titanium white. And let's lay in a big old shocking stripe of that green over here. And I'll do another little one kind of down here and up. Okay, just putting that in there for some fun. Need to add interest wherever we can. So I'm going to take my background gray color, wipe it out of my brush, pick up a little bit of titanium white, so I'm making a much lighter gray-violet color. And we're going to give our chicken a little bit of light gray love. And that's a little too light. I want this to have a little bit more depth of color. And we're going to paint in some of his white feathers with this light gray. And this is really going to start making our rooster look much more like a rooster. Oh, there's another kind of really popular rooster. Don't know that he has a name to it, but there is the famous rooster on the cornflakes box. So your morning cereal can start with your little chicken friends.
And we do have some chicken facts here. This is an interesting one, that chickens actually dream.
Oh, how sweet.
And have memories. Kind of terrifying, considering how we...
Memories of their former friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what happened to little Clucky over there? She was just here the other day. And Clucky has moved on to our dinner table.
And the chickens are one of the only animals that see in color.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that there are lots of chickens that are different colored. There is a chicken that is actually kind of greenish, and it does lay green eggs. Or the egg shells are green. The insides of the eggs are the same color as regular chicken eggs.
And then, of course, oh, how did we miss this? We've been through this entire episode, and we haven't talked about what came first.
Well, as we all know, we don't know. You have to ask a second grader. They will tell you.
Uh-huh. The chicken or the egg, and the whole dinosaur theory that chickens are small Tyrannosaurus rexes.
Well, I will tell you, if a rooster has ever chased you, it might as well have been a Tyrannosaurus, especially if you were young. I remember my great-grandmother's sister lived on a farm, and I must have been a very young tyke, and we were taken out, looking at stuff, and suddenly, a big bull comes up to the fence and kind of bellows, as bulls are wont to do. Well, I'm telling you, I probably hit the ground terrified. Never seen such a big animal up close. All right, question for you, Dylan, because I know that you're a foodie. So I'm wondering, have you ever plucked a chicken?
No, and I have no intention of doing so. I don't really want to associate that with my food.
So have you ever deboned a chicken?
Did the last question lead you to believe that I had?
Well, plucking and deboning are very different things. Okay, well, just take my word for it that plucking a chicken is no fun.
Oh, surprise.
It is absolutely no fun whatsoever.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, well, I didn't, it's not like I set out one day and let me go find a chicken that I can pluck. Mm-hmm. It was, here, sit down and we're plucking chickens. Here's your chicken. You get to pluck. And don't leave any of those little feathers in there. All right, so I'm taking care to kind of make sure that my rooster's head is nicely shaped. And this chicken is looking so good. I'm really, really loving how this is turning out. Very bold chicken here. Okay, so we're going to let this dry for just a minute before we come back and start putting on our highlights. I'd like to take a minute to thank Plaid Enterprises for sponsoring Art Talk. They are the makers of folk art acrylics, which I absolutely love using. I've used this paint since I was a young tot, and now that I'm an old fart, I still use this paint. We have a 17-piece set that we've curated just for you. Ordering information is in the description below, and we also have great brushes for you. We have a 7-piece set of Folk Art Select Firm Bristle brushes. These are absolutely incredible. I use them every time I paint. And I've never done that in my entire life. Now, let's get back to our video. All right, we took a minute and dried our canvas, so we are ready to proceed with a nice undercoat that is not going to be problematic. Taking my 1-inch flat brush and titanium white, and we are going to start to highlight some of our rooster. Let's give a couple of nice big highlight strokes here on his head. And again, we're being very bold. Put that stroke on, leave it alone. Put another bit of highlighting on here. Put that on, leave it alone. We can, in addition to doing some big strokes like that, where we've got nice big feathers, we can use the chisel edge of our brush and we can come and put in some smaller feathers out the back. We can add some here on the chicken. I'm liking those little lines there, giving it some variation. Now everybody's going to have their own way of feathering their chicken, as it were. If you don't want to use the chisel edge, we can come back with, let's clean out this little flat brush here, and I'll show you what we can do to give some different feather sizes on here, add some variety. Take some of our white. And this time we've got a smaller brush, so we can, in fact, set on a smaller kind of stroke. And we get the same effect that we were getting with our big 1-inch brush, but this is just a little bit smaller. So same bold strokes, just a little bit smaller in size. And it looks like I was being a little bit tentative there. Let's put that on. Oh, I like that little bit of the green that was still in my brush showing up there. So let's make a little bit lighter green here. And let's add a little hit of that here in our background. And we can add a little bit right over here. All right, so we've tied in our light green in a number of different places. We'll just go ahead and put a little bit of green feather down here. We don't know where this chicken's been. Okay. There are, if you are on social media, there are some Instagram accounts that are nothing but chickens. And they do show some chickens that are like the size of toddlers. And these giant chickens come out of their little coop. And you're like, okay, I'm going to stay away from that chicken. All right, let's add some more fun stuff to our chicken now. Start adding some highlights and some interesting things. So let's make sure that we've got some apple red on there, that we're got some good coverage of that. And we can take some hot saffron, which is a beautiful orange color, and let's add some hot saffron highlights to our rooster. keeping this very bold with very decisive brushwork here. Loving the way that's looking. Let's add some interest here with a couple of different brush strokes. And then I'll take some hot saffron and I'll mix a little medium yellow in it, making it a little bit lighter orange color. And we can vary this up as much as we want to. Okay, I'm about to start playing this a little too much. So we want to keep this very graphic, very simple looking, very bold. Okay, now let's turn our attention back to our background because that looks really good right now. Right here we need a little bit more yellow. So I'll just pick up some medium yellow. And we'll make that a little bit brighter. Now you're looking good, Mr. Rooster. Let's take our brush that we had our light color on and let's make a nice pink color. Apple red and titanium white. We can add just a little bit of dioxazine purple to that to tie it in with our gray violet color that we had in our background. And let's add a little bit of that here. Loving the way that's looking. And we can put a little bit back here. Just put a bold stroke right there. Very nice, Andy. Loving that. You have to like what you're doing. I think far too often people start beating themselves up. They don't like this, they don't like that. And you just have to put yourself in the mindset of, you know, what I'm doing is looking good. So I'm going to take some of that original background color and lighten it up a bit. And I'm just going to come back in and just kind of cut this bright green stroke down a little bit. There we go. Put a little bit of that down here. Let's go ahead and make that like we really meant it. There we go. All right, I think the only thing left to do is come back and add some really, really bright highlights, and we're going to do that with kind of some pastel colors. So let's get a little bit more white out on our palette. And I'm going to make like a soft orange color with titanium white and some hot saffron. I'm going to make this like a orange sherbet or dreamsicle color. Are you a fan of the dreamsicle?
The dreamsicle push pop is elite.
Okay. I knew you would either love it or hate it. There would be no in between there for Dylan and the dreamsicle. All right, I think that may be just a tad lighter than I wanted it. So I'm adding a little bit more hot saffron to it, making it not
lukewarm saffron.
Yeah, not too hot there, but I can come back and like on here, just put that little bit of extra highlight where we really want some brightness on our rooster. And while we've got that on our brush, let's give a little bit to our background. And as you're painting your own rooster, you can decide what and how many of these kind of highlights you want to add. So now I'm going to take my titanium white and some apple red, making a nice pinky color here. And we can just give a little bit of a different kind of highlight there, different color. All right, I really want to brighten that beak up just a little bit more. So I'm going to take some titanium white and medium yellow, mix a nice yellow color there. Okay, that's looking good. Don't want to play with it too much, but it's almost impossible to leave that alone. And now that I've got that much light on there, let's just take some medium yellow and give a nice yellow stroke to the beak. There we go. Now that's looking good. You have to play around with this a little bit. But I think he's looking really, really sharp. So I'm not sure that we're almost done. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, I really don't want to do much more to it because I don't want to mess with kind of the fresh feeling that we have here. So this is our quick and funky chicken portrait. Thanks for watching today. We have the links for our Art Talk kit, which is a 17-piece set of beautiful colors curated just for you, a brush set, and the downloadable patterns. All of those are in the description below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Plaid Crafts YouTube channel and hit your notification bell so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you'd like to leave a compliment, you can email me at art_talk@plaidonline.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.